Here are three clips from the Oklahoma City Utah Jazz series, which show why the Thunder are having trouble in pick and roll. Now, the conventional wisdom here is that it's because they're too aggressive, and against non shooters, they're going over, and in general, they're just too high up the floor, which is allowing Utah to pick them apart by hitting the roller and hitting weak side shooters, especially in the corner. Now, while this is certainly a problem, the reason why this is a problem actually has nothing to do with their coverage. Plenty of teams have used aggressive pick and roll coverage before and had great success. What's really hurting Oklahoma City is the fact that they're not pushing over from the weak side early. This is causing major breakdowns once the ball finds a roller or finds the weak side. So let's look at a couple clips here. So we have Donovan Mitchell bringing the ball across half court, and Utah is setting up in a Horns flare action. So in a typical Horns, you're going to have one screen on one side of the on-ball defender, Josh Huestis, and a second on the other. And the ball handler chooses, and then you get a roll pop action. But instead, Ingles is going to set the first screen here, slip it to go to the left wing slot area, and Rudy Gobert is going to set a little flare for him. So there's the slip, there's your flare screen, and now Ingles has the ball. From here, it really resembles a pick and roll. Imagine if Ingles had the ball here, Gobert set a ball screen, and Ingles starts going this way, and Gobert rolls. So as Westbrook tries to get back to Ingles, we can see Adams is a couple steps up here because he knows Ingles is a three-point shooter. So in effect, this resembles an aggressive pick and roll situation. Now, the reason why I'm highlighting this clip in particular is because it's a good illustration of what happens when you don't push over from the weak side early. So let's look at what we have. We have Huestis who's just guarding the ball, so he's naturally in a ball pressure position. So as Gobert rolls, you either want Huestis tagging, which is less realistic because of him having just guarded Mitchell with the ball, or Jerami Grant. But Ingles has the ball all the way on the left slot, and Jerami Grant is hugged up to Crowder. Because of that, he's going to be late getting to the middle of the paint here and 2-9ing. Now, why is that a problem? Well, as Gobert rolls, now Ingles sees an easy path to just loft the ball over Adams and drop it in. And so Grant here now is stuck between a rock and a hard place. Does he stick with Crowder and risk Ingles throwing it to him as he's moving towards the paint? Or does he get here late and get to Gobert, and then Gobert quick swings it to the corner? So really, no matter what he does here, because he's late, he's risking Ingles hurting him either way. Now, theoretically, as you're using an aggressive coverage, Adams has more pressure here, so this cross-court pass becomes a lot harder. So the theory behind an aggressive pick-and-roll coverage is this. You put ball pressure right here, you have everyone from the weak side push over early, and then that makes this pass to the opposite corner very difficult. And in the time that it's looping over top of everybody, the athletic Grant has time to get back to the corner. But because he's not pushed over early, he's now moving this way as the pass is happening. So in effect, he's committed to stepping up to Gobert, but he's going to be late. So instead of taking away the roll, he's just confronting the roller late and giving up either an easy shot right at the top of the restricted area or a corner three. And so Josh Huestis sees this problem and crashes down, and he tries to X out to Crowder in time, but it doesn't work. Utah is able to bang an easy corner three. So one more time, let's roll that back. Now imagine here if Grant, on this catch, sprints over to the top of the restricted area. Do we think Ingles can hit this opposite corner before Grant can scramble back, assuming he's pushed all the way over to the top of the restricted area? Probably not. Grant is pretty athletic, A, and B, this is a long pass. So again, you're aggressive here, you're aggressive pushed over, and you force the pass to the opposite corner. But most likely, they're not even going to attempt this pass. They're just going to throw it back here because that's the only safe option. But again, Grant is late, the roll is open, quick swing to the corner, hit a three. Now let's see this again. We have a Horns action this time with Gobert setting it, and this is a regular Horns, and Crowder popping. So again, Carmelo is up near the three-point line against a dangerous three-point shooter, and Westbrook is trailing, in effect, what is an aggressive drop or a double team. So right at this moment, we can see that Anthony is supposed to be on Crowder, but Donovan Mitchell has dragged him out all the way to the left wing, making it impossible for him to get back to Crowder should Mitchell throw the ball back to the top of the key. So in theory, what you want here is you want the nearest perimeter player to stunt at the nearest offensive perimeter player, and then that buys time for Melo to get back. But of course, because Gobert rolls down into Grant, Grant sticks with him and there's nobody to stunt. So this looks like just a great play by Utah and a wide open three. But if we look at this more closely, we know that Utah is going to do this. Horns action is a very simple play that everybody in the NBA runs. So as Gobert rolls, Grant has to recognize here that this popper is going to become open. But if Brewer pushes over early, then Grant knows that Brewer can take Gobert and Grant can take Crowder. And again, remember, we're in our aggressive coverage, so because of the ball pressure, it makes hitting this roller very difficult. And again, look, where's Mitchell going to hit the roller? He's probably not. Now imagine if Grant were up here without Gobert there. If Brewer pushed over early here, Mitchell would see a body right next to Gobert and probably wouldn't want to throw this pass. Melo and Westbrook would have a really good chance of deflecting it. But instead, Brewer is late pushing over, so Grant sticks with Gobert, and Crowder gets wide open. So again, pushing over from the weak side hurts Oklahoma City, even though they have good on-ball pressure and the on-ball guys do their job. If Brewer is right here as Mitchell comes over, then Grant knows he can let him go and stick with Crowder, and they can have some sort of communication here. And even at worst here, we can have Brewer just sprint straight out to Crowder, because again, are they going to throw this opposite corner pass to Joe Ingles? How can Mitchell see this corner? He can't. So Brewer has to feel comfortable abandoning him completely for a little bit of time. But he doesn't, and we get a top of the key open three. So now let's look at a good example and see why aggressive drops work, especially with teams with length. So here we just have a basic pick and roll with Dante Exum coming off a ball screen from Derek Favors. Now as Favors begins to roll, look what we see. We have Grant pushed over. We have Alex Abrines pushed over right in the middle. So when Exum starts to peek towards the roll, what does he see? He sees two bodies in his face. He sees more bodies in the way of the roller. So instead of hitting the roller, what does he do? He turns around, and now the roller is no longer an option. Grant can abandon this and get right back to the top. But now let's imagine even if Grant couldn't hit this tag. What if Crowder were right here, let's say, and there was that horns action play we just saw? So Grant, let's say he misses this tag. Well, Abrines is still right here with a body in the way. So as Exum comes off this ball screen, there's high ball pressure, and Abrines is ready to pick up this man on the roll. So Exum probably isn't going to throw that pass because that has a high chance of getting deflected or stolen. So what is he going to do? He's going to reverse pivot, but oh wait, Grant has stuck with Crowder, so there's really nowhere for him to go. Could he throw it to the opposite corner here? Sure. Now, it is worth mentioning that Abrines is helped out by the fact that Royce O'Neal begins to make a cut to the opposite corner here, so it drags Abrines to the middle. But notice what he does once O'Neal begins to clear back to the opposite corner here. Instead of following him, he just stays put. And because he stays put, it's allowing now for there to be bodies in the middle. So Exum has to go here, Grant goes here, and Abrines has plenty of time to get back to the corner. And from here now we have a bad possession that's isolation and leads to a poor shot. So again, everything here has nothing to do with the aggressive pick and roll coverage as much as it does have to do with pushing over from the weak side early if you're going to be aggressive. Now, Oklahoma City switched to a switching defense in the second half when they made their comeback in Game 5, and that is definitely another strategy to explore. But that doesn't mean that they need to abandon their aggressive pick-and-roll coverage. It has worked at times as long as they're pushing over from the weak side.